Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Happy whatever day of the week it is, because God knows I have no idea ever what day of the week it is. So welcome to another episode of Empowering Coffee Convos. I am Jessie, the founder and chief empowerment officer of This Way to Fabulous Inc. And I am here today with Molly. She is the owner of MK Namaste, who is an incredible calm coach. She teaches kids and adults how to find calm in the midst of everyday chaos. Okay, if this sounds like you, raise your hand and join us, because this is going to be amazing. Okay, so before we dive in, Molly, why don't you tell everyone just a little bit about yourself, like a quick synopsis of where you're at in life, your business, just kind of where you're at right now.
Hi guys, I'm Molly. Just like Jessie said, I'm the owner of MK Namaste. We do yoga classes, and for kids and adults, we also make Breathe Easy boxes. Like, think everything you would need for a calm corner in your house for you or your kids. I have 4 kiddos of my own, and I started this business out of feeling like I was chaotic all the time and knew there had to be a better way to find some calm, and just fell in love with the way yoga can offer that to us. That's me.
For sure. Awesome. Well, I am so excited that you're here today. So let's dive in. Okay. I don't want to waste any time. I want to know about Calm. Like, where can I buy it? Because like it is a daily freaking struggle over here. Okay. So I want to know where I can buy it or where I can find it.
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is I try to look at it like a practice, right? It's something we have to do a little bit every day. It's not like something that you just wake up one day and you're going to be calm.
That's too bad.
Right?
That's too bad. You'd be
That
in
would
like
be
$1 million
nice.
business right now if that was the case.
Flip a switch, give you a pill, you'll be calm. No. But yeah, like I think being busy, being a mom of 4, having my own business, I realized that you have to kind of look for the calm in the chaos. It's not just going to come to you. So in yoga, we talk a lot about like our monkey mind, the chatter in our brain, and how can we calm it down, right? So it's not just you that has that chatter going in your brain, it's all of us. And so what we'll talk about today is like how we can do that through breath practices or little mindfulness practices. And it doesn't have to be like this big, overwhelming thing.
Yeah, monkey brain. You got me at that. Like, that's super intriguing. That's a super like memorable type of thing for me. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I feel like just with the name, I can get on board with that. So like, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit how we do it. Like in my kids' practices, I'll tell them all to like all at once tell me everything they've already done that day. So like they'll be like, I got up, I brushed my teeth like super fast, and it's really loud and chaotic. I'm like, sometimes our brain feels like that, right? That's our monkey mind. It's like going through a lot of thoughts at once. And so then I'll teach them to find their breath as a way to calm that down. So one thing we do sometimes is like we'll take our hand and we'll use our thumb to touch each finger. So like thumb to the pointer finger, breathe in, to the ring finger, breathe out, to the
I'm ready.
yeah, I think I said the wrong fingers, but you get the thing. You go, and then you can use words too, like I am calming down. And you can use this for yourself too. It's not just for kids. I use it sometimes if I'm like sitting in traffic and I'm frustrated. Okay, take a deep breath. And then that can help to kind of calm that chatter, reset the nervous system so that you can find a moment to, okay, I need to focus on one thing rather than letting my thoughts take over.
For sure. And like in something like this, in teaching this, I'm thinking especially to kids, but at the same time, my brain is also kind of going into adults and like teaching an old dog new tricks, and like, how do you deal with the resistance factor of that? So like, I know for me personally, I have never in my life been a huge yoga and meditation person, but it's something that as I get older, I'm really starting to open my mind a little bit more to alternative routes to handle my anxiety and to kind of like address that. And obviously I have a 4-year-old son too, who I don't want him taking those traits from me, and so how do you battle the like resistance factor, both on the kids and adult side?
I think that's a really great question. I think some of it is we're always often afraid of new things, right? It's just something
For
new. But
sure.
I think what I try to do through the work I do is make it accessible, like especially, like with the kids, we do a lot of music that's just like they don't even realize they're learning these practices. Or with the moms I work with, the adults I work with, I just try to meet them where they're at. Like that's what we often start our practice with. Like meet yourself where you're at today. Give yourself some grace. Like, can you be without judgment of yourself for 1 minute this practice, and maybe next week it's 2? Like I think we often think of having to have a yoga or meditation practice as like, oh, I need to carve out an hour and get on a yoga mat and do all these stretches, and I'm not flexible. So what am I going to do? But like really, it could be 1 minute every day, and like look at how many minutes you would get over a year if you did that. If 1 minute every day you're like, I'm going to take a deep breath before I yell at my kids, I'm going to do a yoga pose before I go into this work meeting, I'm going to like, I'm going into an interaction with my spouse and I'm heated, like, can I notice that I felt heated? That's all I did today. I just noticed. I didn't change my reaction, but like it can be simple, something
Yeah,
small
wow.
like that.
Wow, that's really powerful too, to talk about it like that, as far as like just starting to become aware of some of the thoughts that you're having and some of the feelings that you're having, and not necessarily focusing on the task itself of doing the meditation, but really just starting to kind of like open your eyes to like some of the things that are happening. And something you said I think is so important for everybody is that there is this society mold of like what yoga is or what meditation is. And I feel like this is such a great topic too in this genre, because it's just like everything else. Everybody, like, society sets the standard of what it means to meditate, and that means it needs to be exactly 20 minutes, or it needs to, whatever. And I think it's great that you're touching on the fact that that's not the case. Like, you are really kind of breaking that stigma that something like this can be very easy to implement into your daily life, into your lifestyle, and not feel so much like an overwhelming task. And like you said, for the kids, sort of making it something that's like a little bit fun and body movement, where they don't even realize what they're doing. It's kind of like shoving those vegetables in a like chocolate shake or something. It's kind of like that trickery in a sense, but like really just sort of like you said, opening the minds to like what's actually happening instead of focusing on the task itself. So I love that. I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about meditation for a little bit here. So like, we've all probably heard meditation can help with your mental focus, but to me, it just seems like super overwhelming. Like, I always feel like, and this kind of goes with what you were saying with just sort of like opening your mind to what's actually happening. But can you explain just a little bit more about how the meditation process actually works, or like how me or another adult like me who's kind of overwhelmed by it and new to it, like how we can sort of like grow into it and like get better with it?
Absolutely. And one thing I would say is I try to look at meditation practice by like, how do you learn, right? If you learn by listening, if that's how you learn, maybe you want to put on a guided meditation as you walk, and that's your way to try out meditation. If you're a person who's a visual learner, maybe you want to like look at a pretty picture of a mandala like design and just kind of like try to focus on that for a minute or two, knowing your mind will wander. But or if you're, just like, how do you learn? How is writing how you learn? Then maybe your meditation, you're coloring while you try to meditate or something. So it doesn't have to be like I'm sitting on a cushion in silence. And then like, could you do a certain meditation that you have on your phone, an app or something before bed? Like for me, I noticed if I listen to the same one every night, then by about like night 10 or 15, it's like my brain hears it and it's like, oh, it's time for bed, right? And then another trick I like is like, there's a loving kindness meditation. It's kind of popular. So it's like you would send yourself these wishes. I am happy. I am healthy. I live with ease. Okay. And then you would send them to other people in your life, like people who you love, people who you're difficult with. But you could do that in action. Like you could be driving down the road and think, okay, for this car ride, whoever I pass, I'm going to send them that. Like, may you be happy. It could be that simple. But you're still then bringing your brain back to one thing, and you still get those benefits of, I think where meditation really helps is it helps to reset the nervous system, to kind of take us out of fight or flight into a calming place. And so your meditation can be a walking meditation. It can be in movement. It could be in lots of different forms.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like what you were saying too about like, it's not necessarily a like one and done thing. It's a repetition kind of thing to kind of get your body and your brain and your life kind of used to that. And it's also not necessarily a like one and done type of thing where, like if you do exactly this, you're going to be great. It's more about opening up your mind to what's actually happening, and focusing on getting from fight or flight, getting from that red zone to like just one step lower, and then one step lower and one step lower. Like it's this process. So like I love that. And I think so I'm kind of excited that you were talking about these little like love note type of things, because when I was in the depth of like postpartum depression and going through my divorce and all these things, like I ended up starting to set alarms on my phone. Originally it was for medication, but like the what do you call it, like the title or the caption on it, like I was putting like I am strong, I am beautiful, I am whatever. And like I never really looked at it back then as something that like helped to bring me out. But looking back, I do feel like the little things sometimes are the things that make a bigger difference over time. So I'm
For
really glad you
sure.
said that, because I kind of feel like maybe I like maybe
Yeah. And
I
I think
actually had it.
affirmations are awesome like that. And they're a great thing you can do with your whole household, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't have, it's such an easy, it is a meditation practice. It's reframing your brain to come back to one idea, right? I
Yeah.
often, as busy mom and entrepreneur, I have more than enough time for everything, because I feel like we constantly tell ourselves like, I don't have enough time. And it's like, wait, I have more than enough time for everything I need to get done today.
Yes, yes. And something that I've started to tell myself as well when I start to feel guilty of like not doing something because I ran out of time or something, is saying like, it wasn't that I didn't have enough time, it was that I didn't make it a priority. And so like, it's not that it's like this, like, I am awful person or mom now because I didn't have enough time to do this. It was just like, I made priorities and then what didn't get done was not a priority. So like tomorrow
Yeah.
I'll make that a priority, and sort of just kind of like talk myself into a different mindset sometimes, because and sometimes it has to be out loud. Sometimes it's not
Yeah.
just a like mind thing, like I need to say it out loud. i'm
Yeah,
I'm not a
for
huge fan
sure.
of talking to myself in the mirror, but like I will sort of
You
just
could
stand there and
write
be like,
it. Yeah.
okay.
Or in my membership too, I have like coloring pages, and like a lot of them have affirmations on it. And it's like, okay, that's a practice to color it and be like, oh yeah, I can do this.
Yes, for sure. And one thing I love about MK Namaste, you guys, is that she approaches these things from so many directions. So like when she was talking about, you might be a visual learner, you might be, an audio learner, however it is, all of her like memberships and things, they allow you to sort of come to these things from different angles, like what works for you, and being able to be open to trying new ways as well. I never used to be an audio listener. That's a whole other story for another day, but I am
Same.
very much a visual person. Audio was never ever a thing for me, and but now I'm at a point in my life where I've opened that door a little bit. I've like started to put myself in the space to try something new, and honestly the growth that you feel when you start to try some of these new things is just, it's just amazing. And thinking back, you're just kind of like, why did I wait so long to like try something like this?
For sure. But you started at the right time, right? You got to tell yourself that.
It's whenever you start, it's the right time, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I am that person that is like I feel like I'm the craziest person on earth. I'm doing 100 things at once. I'm in 100 directions, and honestly, on most days of the week, I thrive that way. Like I am definitely someone who thrives in chaos. But it's really weird to most people. But like for if you're like me and you feel like you thrive in business, you're not alone. Like it is a little bit strange because people are kind of like, how are you even functioning? But so I am that person that's in 100 directions. So I think my question is like, can someone in the insane mindset like me, like, is it possible for me to even find calm? Like sometimes it feels so out of reach for me. It feels like it is like just like almost like it's not meant for me, if that makes sense.
100%. Yeah. And I don't think my natural state is super calm either. Like I thrive in busyness too. Like I have 4 kids, right? And I decided to start my own business in the midst of having 4 kids because I like to be busy. I like to be moving. I like to do lots of different things. So I don't think, I think people always say to me, well, yeah, it's easy for you because you are calm. It's like, well, no, I like have to really work at this. But I think the most important thing is give yourself grace, right? Like you're going to mess up. Like you're going to mess up in your business. You're going to mess up in your relationships. You're going to mess up with your kids. But how do you get yourself to a mindset that maybe what I would say is calm, you would say is something, maybe you have a different word for it. Maybe you're like, I don't want to be calm. That seems like sleepy and boring. I think it's more just about like working. I look at the yoga practices as working on yourself and the relationship you have with the way you talk to yourself, you give yourself and your body, of course, right? Like when I started, I thought it was going to be like, oh, I'm going to be like a fitness instructor. Like I didn't realize I was getting into like a whole mindset shift. But I think like at home, for example, like with my kids, I'll be like, let's start over. Like it's not like I don't ever yell, right? Or I don't ever say the wrong thing or do something that I didn't want to do. It's then like, can I go back and say like, okay, that was not how I wanted to react. Just like it wasn't probably how you wanted to react. Like, let's do a do-over. Can we start over? Can we redo this moment? So like giving yourself the ability to just say like, okay, I can take back those small little things or I can find calm for like 5 minutes of my day and then 95% of my day is not, but okay, today I found calm for 5 minutes and yesterday it was 4, right? Like,
Yes, I love that. And do you feel like do you ever feel like extra pressure because you're in this industry? Like you said, like you thought you were going to be this fitness instructor and then you like went into mindset and like, which that's the beauty of business, you guys, like evolving is the beauty of business. But like, do you ever feel like because you're in this genre, because you're in this industry, do you feel extra pressure to like always appear calm to people? Or like, because you said like people are like, well, that's easy for you. Like you're calm, like, and you're sitting there like, no, I'm not, but damn, I must be doing a good job. You know, like, do you feel extra pressure to like always like look calm, feel calm? Like, do you feel this extra pressure in this industry? Because like I would imagine feeling like so much extra pressure.
You know what? I used to feel that way. And I feel like now sometimes I get more response from people when I share with them, like, it's not, doesn't come easy sometimes. Like a lot of times when I'll like send a weekly email and be like, oh my gosh, I thought I would like, I thought I had it together and I did not. Here's what happened at home. And people are like, I can relate to that. Like, so I used to feel that way, but I'm trying more and more to be like, I'm how human of me. Like, I'm human, just like you are. Like, but I was joking with my girlfriends the other day. I was like, I'm like, I send these weekly calm emails, but like the windows are about to open outside. Like, don't let my neighbors tell you how much I'm yelling at my kids. Like, right. So, I mean, we're all in, like, yeah.
I'm now imagining you writing your email. Hello, guys. I am so calm today. Like, and but like that's the reality of it, you guys. Sometimes we are calm and very invested in the, you know, emotional state of our business, and other days we have like life has other plans for us. That is just how business works. But I love what you said about how, you know, you just kind of go with the flow sometimes, and you just kind of have to take into account when you had 5 minutes of calm, you have to take that as a win. And it's something I preach so much to my marketing and business coaching clients, is that like you have to celebrate the smaller wins, because if you don't, it will like getting to a bigger goal feels that much more daunting, because you never treated the smaller goals as well, you know. And that's such an important thing to remember when you're building a business in any industry, is that you have got to make sure that you are taking the time to honor the things that are going well, and to take the things that are going bad and kind of reframe that mindset into, okay, so like blah 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 happened, what am I going to learn from this? That is something that I've been like growing my like internally growing for me for the last 2 years, is like, what am I learning from this, instead of like, woe is me, life sucks. Everything has kind of turned into like, okay, no, that did suck. I'm not gonna like pretend that it didn't suck, but now I'm gonna think a little bit more about like, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for the next step? What does that mean for closing a door, opening a new door, you know, whatever. And I think in that in itself, like in that practice, you start to find that that's almost a meditation practice, because you are changing your
100%, yeah.
mindset into like turning something bad into something good, you know. So like
Totally.
I really like what you said. I think that's super super relatable. It sounds really easy, and
Yeah.
you know, like I think that a lot of people will attest to like advertisements out there that are like, oh yeah, wow, that'll do that for me in like a snap. Like that sounds so easy. I'm in, you know. So it sounds easy enough, but like some days I feel like this would be super easy, and then some days I feel like I would rather die than like start this. So like try to start something new. So do you have any specific tips for moms in business? Because you know, like calm is something for all of us for sure, but I think that as moms we can all relate to each other a little bit of like, I hate to say like, because we're moms we have this excuse, like it's not about having an excuse, but we do have that extra stress factor. So do you have any specific tips for like mompreneurs who may feel like they're in the depth of this as well, very like afraid to try it because today might be that day where it feels so scary to them?
Yeah, I totally get that. I think, you know, knowing you're not the only one who feels that way is a good starting point. One kind of little practice I try with is like observe, don't absorb. Like I feel like as a mom, it's so easy to like take on our kids' mental state. So like, and with 4 kids, like they're not all going to be in a good mental state all the time, right? So I often remind myself of that. Like I can observe their behavior, I can observe their bad mood, but like I don't have to absorb that. I don't have to take that on me today. So just trying to kind of remind yourself that you can be, and remind your kids about that too. Like just because someone else in the house might be having a moment doesn't mean you have to meet them. And that depends on the age of your kids, right? You're not going to tell that to a
Sure,
1 year old.
yeah.
If a 1 year old's having a 2 year old's having a tantrum, they're having a tantrum. But like just kind of self-regulate and like use the bathroom. Like if you need to go in the bathroom and shut the door for just a minute and like take 3 deep breaths, like do it. Right. I remember someone told me,
here come the fingers under the door though. That's like what
yeah,
I get.
yeah,
It's like you go in the
I
bathroom
know.
and then the
Close your
fingers are
eyes.
coming under the door and you're like, will you just leave me alone?
Totally, totally. I remember when I had a colicky baby, someone said to me, like, no baby ever died from crying. And that was like my mantra, like, okay, no baby ever died from crying. I'm going to put you in your crib. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to like take 5 deep breaths, do one child's pose for like 30 seconds and then like come back. Like, so.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love what you're saying too about it being a choice. I feel like for people who think that like, oh, it's so easy for you, like you're so calm, you know, like, no, you're choosing to be calm. You're choosing to take care of your mental health, your physical health. Like you are making that choice. It's not just something that was like magically instilled in you. You don't just like carry a magic wand. Like you are making a conscious choice to make these changes in your life for yourself, for your kids, for your business, you know. And I think that understanding that some of those things are a choice is gonna be maybe an unpopular opinion. Like I feel like some people are gonna be like, it is not a choice.
Well, and sometimes maybe it's not, right? Like maybe there's some underlying anxiety and you need to get some medicine for it or something like that, right? It's not, but I also think the other thing I would say is like ask for help, right? So maybe you can't ask for help in your business, but you could have someone help you watch your kids, or you could have someone help you do your laundry, or you could have someone help you prepare dinner. You know, like we don't have to do it all. We live in a society that expects us to do so much. And that's not how it was years ago, right? People had tribes of people helping them and
yes,
they
sure.
lived with extended family. And it's hard, man. Like I am not necessarily that good at it, but I'm learning to like ask for help and vocalize, what do I need? Okay, what do I need? How can I get other people to help me? So
yes, for sure. And I feel like sometimes too, in that you obviously, you know, a big part of the podcast in this empowering combos is to start this conversation, because like you said, there is this stigma that like because we are women, we like should be able to do it all with no help. Like we should, like asking for help is like, you know, like that's bullshit. I shouldn't have to ask for help, right? But also I feel like for me, sometimes I find it easier to ask for things that are a little bit bigger, because I feel like sometimes when I'm asking for really small things, that it seems even more ridiculous that I'm asking for help with that, if that makes sense. Like I know that's a mindset thing for me. Like I know that that's something that I'm just making up, but like I feel less like guilty when I'm asking someone to help me with like almost an entire project versus like, can you just take the trash out? Because then I feel like they're thinking, why can't you just do it yourself? Like
right.
it's this constant like mindset of like, why is it so hard to ask for help? Because people react to us like sometimes people do out loud react to you like, why can't you just take it out yourself? Or like, why? And you know, definitely that's a kid thing too. It'll be like, buddy, can you please go put this in your room? Well, why? And I think to myself, well, A, because I asked you to, but totally. B, because I'm asking for help because I need your help, you know?
And so when you don't ask for help a lot too, then I feel like if you don't get the response you want, it's like, ooh, like soul crushing. But I feel like as you ask for it more, like if you get it 5 times out of 10, it's better than getting it, you know, or like you kind of learn to say, okay, you know, or you ask like your significant other, like, I'm going to start asking for help more. This is what my therapist was telling me. Tell them like, I'm going to start asking for help more, but you also have to meet me and say like, when you can't do it, it doesn't mean you have to take it all on. Right. But
right.
Like,
right. But if like, I'm asking you to take out the trash, just go take out the freaking trash.
Just do it.
I mean,
yeah.
So I feel like also with my son, you know, he's 4 and I feel like he is at that age where, you know, I'm trying to instill in him that it's okay to ask for help too, because sometimes you'll see him struggling. I mean, something as simple as opening a applesauce pouch or, you know, like something like this. And he gets so frustrated and does not want to ask for help, you know, like he's that like man who's just like, I'm going to do it myself. And, you know, I'm trying to instill in him too, like, it's okay to ask for help. Like sometimes we need help doing things. And sometimes you don't need my help. I know you don't need my help putting your pajamas on, go put them on, you know, but it's like, it's this very blurry line of trying to navigate your child's growth as well as your own growth. And I think for me, having him was kind of a jumpstart into realizing how much work I needed to do on myself in a lot of those things, because you guys, if like you're a mom out there, I know you get get it, but they absorb everything. They want to be everything that you are. And so like the things that we're doing, good and bad, they're watching that and they're absorbing that, and they're kind of turning that into like their own life. Like it's actually really terrifying.
I know. And there's like some quote about that. It's like something like the kids can only be as calm as the least calm adult in the household or something, which is kind of overwhelming because you're like, oh my gosh, but it's a good reminder of like, we, you know, if we can kind of self-regulate, they can meet us where we're at.
Yes, for sure. And it becomes really terrifying when you see them doing acting, saying the things that you are saying, maybe like when you're frustrated, like, oh my goodness. And then you see him and he's like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, it's just, it's very, very crazy. So, okay. So as we wrap this up, I'm sure there are like tons of people out there who can totally relate to this. Like they're literally probably sitting there like, oh my God, this is me. Like, what advice do you have for them to just get started? Like, I would love for us to give them an action item today for them to take action on, just to take that first step. Like they don't get a choice. They get to take one first step and we're telling them what to do. What would you tell them to do?
I would say try box breathing. Box breathing is like a really great practice and it's easy to remember, I think. So it's essentially you're like looking at a box, right? But it's 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. What that means is you're going to inhale for 4, hold the breath for 4, exhale for 4, hold the breath for 4. This is a really great calming practice. The Navy SEALs use this, like it has a lot of research about it. I'll do one round with us now so you can try it out.
Yeah, awesome.
And then what I would say is like, try it over the next week when you think of it. Can you do a box breath real quick? You could also draw out a square and do it on paper with your finger too, if you're a person who likes to kind of have that visual. But so let's try it. So let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and then just let it go.
Wow.
And
I love that. Like it must be really hard to do that while you're saying what to do though.
oh yeah, I didn't do it along with it, but I would also say like, just maybe even the practice of notice how you feel before you do it, notice how you feel after you do it without judgment. Just like try that little practice this week.
Yes. I love that. So everybody out there listening or watching, I hope that you guys are taking this breath right now. I hope that you guys are really sort of opening your mind to something new. Nobody out there, nobody is perfect. Everybody has room to make small changes to make their life better. Nobody's life is 100% perfect. And I think that this is an amazing place for you to start, especially if you were an entrepreneur, because I know that the days are like, they can be so chaotic. And sometimes it is just literally comes down to like, are you able to recompose yourself to continue on your day? Because I know that there are days that I struggle with that. So I feel like this is something that for me, especially the hold, I don't think I ever really knew about the hold. Like I knew about like slow breath in and out, but I've never really thought about the hold. And even in that short practice right there, I just sort of felt my mind start to think about like that hold instead of whatever else was going on. So I love that. Molly, thank you so much for joining me today to open up the conversation just about chaos and the reality of life as a business owner, a woman, a mom, and just really kind of helping me expose that like, we're not alone in this. And that like, there are so many ways to work through it and like get better with it. Like we want to live the best lives for ourselves, for our kids, for our families. It obviously helps us run our business better as well. So Molly, if listeners are totally vibing with this, because I know they are, and they want more, they want to hear more, they want to see more, where can they find you, or how is the best way to like get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
I would say I'm most active over on Instagram at mk.namaste. Also my website. And then if you join my mailing list, that's where I send out weekly emails with just kind of like a little thought for the week and any classes or offerings I might have.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. And Molly, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm ready to go like zen my breath for another like 10 minutes before I attempt to tackle today.
Thanks so much for having me. It was so
all
fun to chat.
right. All right, guys, have a fabulous week and we will chat soon.